Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's going on, guys? Good evening and welcome to the program. It is Stateside Footy with your host, the uncle that everybody's favorite uncle. And by the way, Jeff, if you're wondering why I'm referring to myself as the uncle, because apparently some of my viewers have been calling me the unction recently as we've been getting into. And by the way, there might have been a time, there might have been a time where maybe my insecurity would have taken over. Like, no, I'm too young for the unk tag. But that being said, the reality is I'm an uncle to 4 kids. So I've embraced the uncle role on this program. So why not? It is Stateside Footy. And of course, tonight, welcome me back on the show, a very talented writer from Coast International is Jeff Lageson. Jeff, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a lovely day in the round of 32 coming.
Yes, it is. And listen, we promised that we would check back in after the group stage because there was a lot of trepidation from you going into World Cup 2026 off the back of a so-so, maybe a little disappointing Nations League in 2025. And of course, we had the Gold Cup. Outside of a few nice friendlies in the October-November window, the United States really was, I guess you can say, a little disappointing in some of these friendlies leading into it. But that being said, the group stage is complete. We are off to the round of 32 where we're facing the mighty Bosnian and Herzegovinians over there from UEFA. So I guess the first question I have for you is your thoughts on the group stages.
Well, for the U.S., the group stage, even with the stoppage time fiasco there in Game 3, the reality is that was as good as we've seen a U.S. team play. And I agree with Jurgen Klopp. That's as good a U.S. team as we've seen. They were aggressive. They were smart. They were well coached in a way that made sure that he got his players off and nobody suspended. They handled Christian's knock well, and he was able to come back in and show that he's ready. There's just so much about that's good. We got a goal scorer teams have to be afraid of. We have playmaking in our midfield that's good. We clearly have an A and a B. Really, I mean, our depth is good coming off the bench, but our A team is our A team. I think we feel pretty comfortable knowing that really is the starters going through. I like the little bit of an edge and a little bit of the chip on the shoulder that Poach seems to be showing. I get it, so that we won. It's like, good, defend your team. So many of those things are positive. The group stage in general was far more interesting across 12 groups than we had any reason to expect. A lot more interesting subplots, a lot of the debutants doing well, fewer teams just totally crashing out that you would have thought would have done better. So many different things about it have proven to be interesting. And then the first round of 32 game today had a stoppage time winner. So it's like we're actually getting ourselves a remarkably entertaining tournament.
I would agree. And I think, number one, this has actually been a very, very, very entertaining, very good, if not great World Cup, or at least a great start to the World Cup. And I'm actually looking forward to the knockout rounds because, as you know, you and I go back quite a bit of years. When it comes to the knockout rounds, you see the drama, you see the storylines, and there's always going to be somebody that is going to go out early, whether that is, I hate to say it, the ultimate bottle job England, or if it is going to be maybe an Ecuador beating Mexico in the round of 32. There's like, when I look at the round of 32, we have Morocco, Netherlands. That's going to be an absolute tasty matchup. We have some very good matchups in the round of 32. But that being said, that's the beauty of the World Cup. The second thing that I'm going to say,
Brazil, Japan.
Yeah, Brazil, Japan. Perfect example of that.
If Brazil doesn't show up and be Brazil, they're out in the round of 32 because this Japanese team will be efficient and level-headed and take it at them. So
absolutely, Japan is as efficient in football as they are at building vehicles. That is a very appropriate appropriate analogy, by the way. But what I will say is that coming into this tournament, I said that this is probably the most talented, most deepest U.S. team that we've ever put in a World Cup. Now, traditionally speaking, our DNA was always more on the defensive side of the ball, not necessarily pushing forward, because we did have a talented striker or we had a talented winger. But when you look at the quality of depth on this team, when you look at when you just look at the quality, where you have a Flo Balogun and you have a Christian Pulisic, you have a Weston McKennie, a Malik Tillman, a Tyler Adams, we have never had this type of collection going into a World Cup. And the beautiful part about this thing is, I've always said, there is something to the second cycle, right? We've actually had our best results kind of going into that second cycle. When you think about 2010, when you think about even 2014, to a little bit of an extent, we've always had like our best results kind of coming off the back end from the first time around. This team got a very good taste of what it was like in 2022. 4 years later, this team is now in their prime, and you're kind of seeing them not taking the group stage for granted. And like, the sky is the limit for this team. But when I look at this thing in total, it's like, we can sit here and say, yeah, it was Paraguay and Australia. But that being said, they did exactly what they were supposed to do against those two teams, period, point blank.
Yeah, and the part of it that I've really liked is, and this is to your point, is on paper, for a while, we've looked good, but we haven't seen it on the field on grass. It's been inconsistent and everything. When we saw the first part of the Senegal friendly and the way they took it right at him and Christian created that goal and stuff, it was just like, okay, if they play like that, we're fine, right? Like, we've seen glimpses of it, but it was always on paper. This team went out and played back-to-back very, very good games. And the third game, as much as disappointing, was a team desperately trying to get any sort of a result. They were playing for pride. That's dangerous. They got punched in the face early with the U.S. scoring right away. But the U.S. came out of that second half, got the goal and leveled. And was going to, 7 points coming off was going to look great. We would have been talking about how they were unbeaten, all those things. And then just a collective, brain dead response to that low cross across the goal. And the narrative's a little different, but I think that most people who have been really watching it understand that was not the team that's going to be playing Bosnia. That is not the team that if they beat Bosnia will be playing Belgium. And that is not the team that if they beat Belgium will be playing Spain, because that is the bracket that we have. And I think this team is perfectly capable and has showed us that there is a reason to believe they can get to that match in Spain in the quarters.
I agree.
I think they can beat Belgium this time, and I think they can beat Bosnia. Bosnia was very excited. I was at the Qatar-Bosnia game. They took it right at Qatar, and that's great, but it was Qatar whose defense is a sieve. So, like, when they have to face the U.S. physical presence, I don't know that Bosnia has enough to get through there. Maybe they can poach a goal, but I feel like we win that game 3 or 4-1.
I tend to agree with it. Because Bosnia's got a cool striker, and their left winger, the Ijer Begovic kid. That goal that he scored was an absolute cracker. He essentially cut in from the left and just put a beautiful shot on net. But, you know, that's the thing. It's like you're dealing with a team that has one, maybe two different weapons versus a team that actually has weapons essentially from your attacking six all the way up. And
the U.S. attacking six is really good.
It's really good. They attack the channels from multiple different angles. And I think we saw this against against Paraguay when they tried to overload on Christian Pulisic. He dribbled through two defenders and still was able to play a ball in. We saw this against Turkey when he came off, and his first touch, he blows past his defender to get a shot on net, which, you know, should have resulted in a goal after that. But, you know, it is what it is. It just shows the impact of a dude like Christian Pulisic. But one of the things that I took from the group stages was, number one, the guys who are going to lead us were the leaders in the group stage. So Flo Balogun, Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic, Tyler Adams, those guys were the ones that led us in the first two victories, but also Gio Reyna off the bench, right? But one of the biggest questions that I had was who is going to be that guy who is going to be able to come in off the 70th minute to be able to get you that goal if you're in that position where you're either tied and you're looking to take the lead, or if you're looking for a late equalizer, who is going to be that guy that you can turn to in that crunch time. And it looks like it might just be Gio Reyna, which is going to make everybody happy. The only question that I have, Jeff, and this is something that I don't think we've seen yet, is how does this team respond when a team is going to drag them into deep waters? You know, like when we're in the 80th minute and it's still 0-0 and, you know, they're playing lockdown defense, and every single time we try to get forward, you know, there's always going to be an answer for that defense to shut us down. Right. So that's the only question that I have with this team, because we just hadn't seen it yet.
I think the biggest thing that will happen with that is that the U.S. ability on set pieces is above average. And that if we're going to get dragged into a situation like that, we're going to have the guys that can step in and do some stuff on set pieces that can be very dangerous, even if it's something like a Tim Ream coming forward as a central defender on a corner. I think that if we can force some set pieces late in a situation like that, we have some guys. I mean, Berhalter's service is great. Christian's service is great. There's a couple of guys who can crack them, and we have some guys who can get the ball in the air. I do think that that's going to be the saving grace for this team, is that they are capable of, you lock it down, great. We're going to crack some shots, get some corners. We're going to dribble at you and force you to foul us a couple times and give us the ball with a wall. I think that that's where they're going to have to do it, is they're just going to have to force those teams to foul or give us restarts. And that's going to be where we're able to get it. Because otherwise, I mean, when teams park the bus and you have 8-9 defenders, it's just dumb luck if you get a deflection half the time, right? Whereas if you get the set pieces, you can control a little bit of the flow of that. And our team here with the U.S., I think really does show the ability to do something with that. Because Christian, what we've talked about his form a lot recently, you know, his second half form this year. Earlier in the year, in the European season, he was the best player in Serie A at the first part of the season. I mean, he was lights out for a nice stretch. And if his form is, you know, what do they say? Quality, you know, form kind of comes and goes with quality. Christian's quality. And if his form comes back, which it seems to have, he is in the prime of his career, playing at home with a chance to really establish himself, and he's doing it, which is what's cool.
Yeah, and I think this is if there was ever a World Cup for him to stamp himself as one of the greats, it's going to happen in this knockout round. But I before we get off to the round of 32, was there a standout player for you, or let me rephrase this, was there a surprise performer that you saw in the group stages? Correct.
Or just across? Well, for the U.S., I really liked how Gio Reyna stepped up and clearly had shaken off the cobwebs. He had clearly off the bench. I don't know if he's really that 90-minute player quite right now, because he didn't quite have as much of a comprehensive game in the third game, although a lot of people are hard on him. I don't think he was terrible. But off the bench, he's dangerous, and he has the ability to do some stuff to create for himself. That goal he got using the outside of his foot, you know, on the off step was just, you either can do that or you can't. That is not something that is coached. That is just raw talent. Right. And he has raw talent. And if he's on the same page with Poach and all of those things, which seems to have happened, we've seen this maturation of him from where he was with the mess that was 22, then good for him. But I'm going to say the fact that Gio Reyna really did step up and be the guy we hoped he was, even if it's more of a super sub than as a starter.
I like it. I'm going to go off the beaten path, and I actually am going to say Tim Ream. And I know that seems kind of ridiculous because I've been 100% on Front Street with my beliefs on Tim Ream, especially in 2026. He looked like he was a step slow in Major League Soccer, and even in some of those friendlies, he looked like he was getting torched. And so coming into the World Cup, being named the captain with the pressure of being a captain for the U.S. in the World Cup, I was kind of curious to see how he would respond. And he's absolutely been nails on this back line. He has been the leader that, quite frankly, I think this back line needed. And I think because of it, he has played pretty goddamn well in those first two matches. And what was interesting about it was, again, you're kind of looking at the speed and the speed and physicality of a team like Paraguay wasn't an issue. And then you looked at what happened against Australia and Seattle, again, wasn't an issue. And now that kind of gives me a little bit of confidence moving forward into these knockout rounds where one mistake is the difference between advancing and moving on. And it seems like if this is going to be it for Tim Ream, this is like he showed up at the right time. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's funny that we both ended up mentioning how important Tim Ream is, of all people. like the set piece thing stuff. But the reality is the leadership of a veteran central defender. You look across, footballing history. The guys who have been that. There's some qualities to that. His positioning is good because he knows where to be. They're not asking him to go forward a lot, which conserves some of the speed. He's not being put in bad positions. It doesn't hurt when you're playing from a lead. I mean, when your offense goes out and gets you early goals, your defense can play without having to take certain chances because the coverage is there. But seeing if there's a little bit of validation for his even being picked to the team, let alone being picked captain, in how he's played in those first few matches. Good for him. Way to go out. I mean, this is his swan song with the national team. There's just no doubt. Yeah. But we're seeing exactly why you always have to have a couple of guys who maybe are past their prime on a World Cup team. Right? You have to accept that you only need them for like 7 games. It's not like you need them for 38. Right? You just need him to go out there and be a veteran and be smart. And winning World Cup teams very often have that guy coming off the bench. They sometimes have that guy that's in central defense. Maybe somebody who was once a striker and has moved into a midfield role because they've lost pace, but they can still funnel the ball through them. Those sorts of positions and players very often pay for themselves with their quiet example leadership and just being steady on the field with World Cup watching. I mean, your TV audience is in the billions for these matches. It's the world is watching everywhere. Yep. All of these games, you are getting an audience it's not even close to the audience you'll ever get for anything else ever in your career. And to be able to step up with that kind of spotlight and with the scrutiny he got, it shows an awful lot of character and things. Maybe he's got some coaching in him and down the road.
Yeah, and I think because a lot of U.S. fans were trying to retire him, after 2022, and to be able to rebound 4 years later and be a part of this team, I guess it shows the what I like to call the balls of the guy for not quitting, but also believing in yourself to be able to come back 4 years later and anchor a back line that, quite frankly, has actually played, pretty solid. Notwithstanding, obviously, it was a rotated back line. The vaunted Austin Trusty, Mark McKenzie, Miles Robinson back line against Turkey. But listen,
and may we never see that again.
And maybe. Well, by the way, man, Austin Trusty again continues to play well. That's
the individual players. That combination just didn't work.
That combination didn't help. But all right, so group stage, I would give it an A plus. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They came in, they took care of business, they won the group early. It allowed them to rotate their yellow cards. It allowed to give the starters some rest. And Pochettino smartly did get the right players minutes in that game. Christian Pulisic needed minutes. He got it. And I like the fact that Weston McKennie played in that match as well, too. I like the fact that Malik got some minutes as well, too. But now we're off to the round of 32 in I guess you can say in a bracket that has been described as the knockout round of doom for the United States, because if we get past Bosnia, we either face the winner of Belgium or Senegal. Either one I'm okay with, because me personally, I think we need to exercise some demons, especially against Belgium. I still remember the round of 16 and 14. I would love to get some get back for that one. Also also the match in March. And of course, we played Senegal right before the World Cup. So two teams that we're very, very familiar with. And I think two teams that on our day, we have the ability to beat. But if we get past that, we have a date with destiny with Lamine Yamal in Spain, who is, I guess you can say, the prohibitive favorite. And if we do happen to progress past Spain, dare I say it, a semifinal date with Argentina. So listen, this is, by the way, Canada has a much harder path than the United States. But that being said, what I like about this is, and I've been saying it from the start, it's not about how you start, it's about how you grow into this tournament. And when you look at what international football has turned into from what it was, which back in the day, it was a pragmatic game. It was all about organization. It was all about composure and discipline and getting forward, playing a 4-4-2. Now it's all about midfields, and it's all about your ability to score goals. And the United States has their best midfield that they've ever had in a World Cup. And they also happen to have the best striker that I think we've ever had in a World Cup. No disrespect to Eric Winalda, no disrespect, to Brian McBride or Landon Donovan or Clint Dempsey, whatever the case may be. It just is what it is. This or Josie Altidore, again, no disrespect. Very good strikers in their own right, but Flo Balogun is just something different. That's all I'm saying.
Flo Balogun had multiple countries fighting over him.
That's exactly right.
And not just because home and everything. Like, he was technically, by the time he got transferred to France, if he hadn't suited up for anybody, he could have gotten residency and played for Nigeria, France, England, or the United States. And all of those are good programs. And they all were interested on some level.
They were all interested.
They were all interested on level. But Balogun chose the United States because of playing in this tournament. His career choice was, when he's 3-4 years ago, was I could play in that tournament as the starting striker if I choose this path now. And that's exactly what happened. And then he's been exactly what we needed him to be. This is a guy with Champions League goals. He's dangerous. You have to account for him all 90 minutes. The moment you let him slip past you, he's scoring. And even if you mark him pretty good, he can still beat you and score. He is just, I can see the Arsenals of the world trying to buy him back. Right? Like, he is just that kind of player. He is very, very special. We're lucky to have him, and he is young enough that he is not just playing in this cycle's tournament. I also think that when you look at the bracket as you just described, once you get to past the round 16, everything is, one team of those 8 is going to beat 3 of the powers in a row, and only one team is going to pull it off. And everybody has to play a gauntlet of some sort. Ours happens to be like Spain, Argentina, France, England, some combination of that. Like, it's brutal. But so is everybody else in that. And only one team will get a chance to do that. And if there's ever a time for a U.S. team to adopt the I believe that we will win, it will be then. This is a team that has institutional memory of beating Spain in a semifinal with the Confederations Cup. This is a team that has players who play against those players all of the time. There is nobody that Pulisic or Balogun have not played against before. These guys have played, Christian Roldan, if he was to end up needing to come in, has shut down Messi, right? Like, these are the guys these guys are playing these guys. Bellingham playing in the Champions League. They're playing against them
Yep.
in the Premier League. They're playing against them in Serie A. Nobody out there is going to be overly wowed by it. And our US environments have been amazing. It's just very, very encouraging. We'd seen it on paper, but we hadn't seen it. You were far more optimistic than I was, and I am happily trying to not break my ankle too hard joining you on that Vespa of yours that you're riding through this. So
Well, it's just I just looked at it for everything that you just said. Coming into a home World Cup, I had a good feeling that, especially when you looked at the group, that this was going to be a situation where, as you just said, this team isn't going to fear anyone. They have a coach. They have a coach that has instilled this belief of, we're just going to be ourselves, and that's it. Like, we're going to respect our opponents, but we're not going to put so much into it where we're going to put them on a level where we're going to psych ourselves out. We're just going to play our game, and at the end of 90 minutes, we'll probably be the victor. And that's what, I think that's a little bit different than what we saw in 2022.
Your point there is really what I really like about that point, and I agree with, is if you spend too much time adjusting to your opponent, you're not being you. And this team actually has the ability to have an identity, and we've seen it.
Yep.
And make them react to you more than you have to adjust to them.
Correct.
And that is where you and I are absolutely running parallel. And I love the fact that this team has the ability to stamp their foot on a team a little bit.
Yeah. See, and this is, and I was going to say, this is the difference between World Cup football and these friendlies, where a lot of people put too much stock into it. When we were playing Belgium, we were trying to do a lot of things in those friendlies. We were rotating, trying to get different people. We're trying to have different looks. Pochettino was still trying to find out the back end of his roster. These players were, literally just kind of getting minutes. And it necessarily wasn't about the result, as it was just about continuing the plan, getting ready for the World Cup. And it just is what it is. Now we're at the World Cup, and we are what we are. And we're not going to be too high. We're not going to be too low. We're going to continue just to play our football. That's the identity, right? Like, I'll give you a good example. Today I was having a conversation with this fella who was wondering whether we're going to sit in a low block. If we get Belgium, are we going to let our foot off the gas? And I'm like, no, because these players have bought into Pochettino and his philosophy and his style of play. We are going to press forward. And if they put balls over the back line, he's going to have confidence in our defenders to be able to track back and to be able to get in good positions. We are going to press high. We are going to try to take them out of their rhythm, and we're going to try to score goals, as many goals as we possibly can. That is the identity of the U.S. program. And it is the perfect coach that was matched with a perfect skill set of players that are fast, that are pacey, that can be physical when they need to be physical, but they're also technically gifted. Like, that is the identity of this team, period. Like when we're facing Belgium or Senegal or Spain, we're not going to be like, oh, whoa, hold on. We're going to have to play in a low block because no. Like, we're going to take it to them. We're going to take it to them. That's it.
I don't think it's in Pochettino's DNA to do anything other than that. And it's why they're paying him to be there on the short term in a team. At the end of the 22 World Cup, the optimism was based upon, like you've talked about the 2-second cycle, about how many good players we had that were younger and were already World Cup experienced and already had a taste and a glimmer of success. And it feels like some of that angst that we've had over just how much of a debacle so much of the cycle has been is almost like out the window, and there seems to be a string now directly connecting the end of Qatar to this in a way that we didn't see at the time. I don't think Pochettino has it in him to do anything but take it out of team. And I don't think that Christian or any of those guys like McKennie have any ability to do anything else. Desk overlapping, all these different things.
Yep.
This is a dangerous team that can attack you, around you, over you, and at you. They play pretty disciplined defense when they're attacking, but their flank play is really good, and they make you chase them. and you can't stop what you can't catch. So it's basically at that point, when Des gets through, he's got a moment coming up because he'll get a chance or two to do it. Christian knows that he doesn't only have one person to target. He can put a ball to space and have guys get there.
Yep.
McKenny plays with just a little bit of a mean streak in him sometimes on the ball that is so useful that he's got a little bit of that bulldog midfielder mentality. I just feel like this is not a team that's going to park the bus against anybody. It's just not who Pochettino is, and he almost seems irritated when people ask.
Yeah, it was funny because it was that post-Turkey press conference where he was like, "Well, dude, guys, it's not about the group; it's about winning the tournament." Like I think you've lost focus on why we're here. It's not about how you start; it's about how you finish, and we're focused on.
Friendlies are basically just we're talking about practice, and the format of game. That third match had a little bit of that quality to it. It was Turkey wasn't really playing for anything but pride, and they got it, but they still went home. That game was a chance to do all of the things to set yourself up so that your rotation, everything was good. And here we are walking into the round of 32, and there's every reason to think they're going to just put the pedal to the metal and go at Bosnia.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. The other groups have been interesting too, but for the most part, we've been able to enjoy the U.S. run so far. And that's been also additionally cool in this World Cup, is that the tournament in general has been interesting, with the whole Cape Verde story and the different clubs, scoring goals, only one team didn't score a goal, and that was Panama. It's like,
way to go, Panama. Way to go.
Yeah. But it's
that's our fourth best team in our confederation.
They weren't in this tournament.
It makes you wonder how Jamaica would have done. You know what I mean? Like if Jamaica would have gotten in, you wonder kind of how the Reggae Boys would have done. Or better, right. Probably better than Panama. I'm just playing.
Yeah.
I'm playing Panama.
I know, but it's like there's been some of those great moments. Now, the question becomes as we move to the round of 32 for the tournament, who's going to trip up and fall out? We've talked about that a little bit. I really think we're going to see an early exit for Brazil.
Ooh,
I think that we're going to, I think that we're going to actually see a decent run from England. Spain is getting their feet under them after that frustrating opening match, playing a team that was, having the game of their life. As you said, you talked about tournament football being different. You kind of build into it. National teams don't get to play together enough. They get one or two friendlies and some training, and then they play. And the good teams that win sometimes have slow starts. They have a bad game in the group because they're still sorting stuff out. But by the time they get to that fifth match in the round of 16 and moving towards the quarterfinals, they start moving those gears going. The U.S. can be one of those teams.
I fully agree with that.
And I think that we're going to see which teams trip up. But also there's a couple of teams that have a lot of players right in their primes, setting up for making, especially the quarterfinals, in shockingly interesting football.
That's interesting that you said that you think that Brazil's going out early. That wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. And I think a lot of people are overlooking Japan. That is a very quality team that is incredibly disciplined and efficient. What I will say is I also think Mexico are going out as well, too. A lot of people are looking at it like, well, Mexico.
It's a tough matchup. They got
Ecuador is a very good team, and that is a very good defensive team where not a lot of teams score on Ecuador, and plus they're very, very good on the counterattack, very good mid-block. They have just so many different ways that they can disrupt opposition, and they don't care if you hold possession because that team is absolutely rock solid in their fundamental, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mexico goes out in the round of 32. I also think Canada goes out. Congratulations, by the way, for Canada. Getting a very good result today against South Africa, but they get the winner of the Netherlands, Morocco, and I don't care who advances. Canada's about to get the doors blown off them.
No, but Canada have to consider this a overwhelming success.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing in the way that they had to travel for the 32, not getting that result in the third match. But on balance, if you told the Canadian program, we're going to be playing the Netherlands in the round of 16, they would have taken any path to get there.
And
right?
and this is why Jesse Marsh got his extension, right? There's a lot of belief in his abilities. But what I will say is, I do have this question to ask you, and it's a two-parter, and I guess it goes, how far can this U.S. team go, and if they go, who is going to be the guy that's going to have to carry this team?
I think this team, because we have the institution of playing a Spain, and we and everything like that before, I think this team can get to a semifinal. I do. I think that they can get through. They're going to have to play absolutely lights out against Belgium and Spain to do it. This is a team that's perfectly capable. This is not the Belgium of 2014. They are not. They're good, but they're not dangerously good. I do think that Spain has shown maybe a little bit of less focus and intensity. Like, I don't know that this is a team that has another gear. They kind of are just sort of going, and I feel like the talent is there, but maybe there's just a little edge missing from them. I don't know that, once you get to a semifinal, it could be like, what is it, France or Argentina, type of thing.
Yeah, it's probably Argentina.
Yeah, I was just looking at the bracket earlier. I was trying to remember what it was when it got to that point, because that's incredibly optimistic to keep building at that point. But yeah, I think this team has a perfectly capable. If we get knocked out by Spain and it's like a 2-1, 3-2 game, that's an overwhelming success for the tournament after the fact. But I think before the fact, this is a team that could make a run to that semi. But they cannot trip up against Bosnia, and then they have to take it to Belgium, and
I think there's something to it, because let's understand that when Belgium beat New Zealand 5-1, let's understand that, number one, it's New Zealand. Yep. Last game of the group, but the two matches prior, they looked shaky at best, and you're not gonna be able to afford to have that luxury come the round of 16. You're gonna get the very best of what the U.S. has to offer, and it is going to be one of those type of matches where if you beat us, you're gonna have to bring your best on that day in order to do it. And if you do it, fair enough, whatever the case may be. But we're certainly not going to lay down to Belgium. It's going to be 90 minutes of you having to catch up with us, because we are going to run your absolute tits off, and you're going to have to catch up. And it's going to be the same thing potentially for Spain as well too. And it's interesting that you say that too, because in that group stage, you wonder if Spain were just taking it for granted because they're Spain, right? There's like this intimidation factor because they're Spain, right? That you're reigning European champions. They have quality all over the pitch, right? And they go 2-3 deep. Yeah, they go 2-3 deep out of a position. They're Spain, and I think maybe what's interesting is Cape Verde was like, we don't care, like we're going to go out there and try to beat you. And this was a rotated Spain team, which you still would probably take Spain in that game. And credit to Cape Verde, they were not afraid of them. But you wonder if you're going into a quarterfinal against the U.S., whether Spain's gonna be like, it's the United States. You know what I mean?
I do worry about that, and I think there's always a team or two that does that and finds themselves going home earlier. On paper, on talent, Spain should win this tournament.
Yeah, I agree.
Which means any lineup they put out should have beat Cape Verde 7-1.
Yeah.
And that one would have been a late, that should have been a demolition derby with any 11 they put out against Cape Verde.
Mm-hmm.
And Cape Verde was not even, if anything, they took that Spain intimidation and ate it and fed themselves with it and built themselves up from it. And instead of wiltering from it, it was a motivating tool. You know,
Right.
it was an opportunity, not anything else. And
Correct.
that was, and you
Correct.
just saw it in the goalkeeping in that match and stuff like that. You know, the goalkeeper went from what, you know, a second division Portuguese team with a couple thousand followers on Instagram to 4 million, like overnight. From like, if you want to talk about viral, you know, just there's so many cool things about that. This team, then the second part of your question,
Yep.
I think this is where Balogun gets a chance to really establish himself as that truly great striker. He's got to score goals against Belgium. He's got to score goals against Bosnia, and he's got to be the reason Spain leaves defenders back. And if he can
Yeah.
go out there and be the most dangerous player on the field, which your striker, arguably, you know, a dangerous striker like him should be, your goal scoring threat, then that's where we get it, is that guy. If Balogun is that guy, we're okay.
I'm going to add to that, and I'm going to say Christian Pulisic is going to have to
Mhm.
be a part of this equation too, because
Mhm.
you know the difference between 2022 and 2024 is we have far more weapons than we had into this World Cup than we did 4 years ago. You know, people forget we had Josh Sargent starting as a target 9 in that first match heading into 2022, and Berhalter relied specifically on Christian Pulisic to carry us. That is not the case 4 years later. We have weapons all over the pitch, but the reality is he is supposed to be that guy. He is supposed to be like, he has been exalted up to the mountain of Landon Donovan and Clint Dempsey and Tim Howard and some of the greats. And let's be perfectly honest, he really hasn't necessarily shown that on the biggest stages, where Landon showed it in 2002 and 2010. Clint showed it in 06 and 2014 and in 2010, right? So there's a reason why those guys are put on that mountain in that Rushmore. And if Christian Pulisic wants to be there, fair enough. That's great. But these are the tournaments in which you do it. He did it a little bit in 2022 against Iran to get us into the round of 16. But now that we're in the round of 32 and we think that this team has the capability of potentially pushing a semifinal, and you're absolutely right, Flo Balogun has to be the catalyst. He has to be the one to score the goals, but so does Christian Pulisic. He has to be in that mix as well, too, without a
Christian
doubt.
Pulisic's resume in club soccer is what?
Yeah.
Dortmund, Chelsea, Milan, and
Yeah.
starting and producing
Yeah.
and playing in Champions League and trophy winning sides in those
Winning
clubs.
a Champions League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's been good a number of times when we need him. I thought he was good in 22.
Yeah,
He was.
I did too.
Yeah. But Christian Pulisic in that first match against Paraguay is the guy that we absolutely always wanted to see. I thought he was fantastic. I know they came out early because of the knock on his calf, but that first half he looked good. And I think that, you know, getting that scrape across the calf or whatever it was that knocked him out was really unfortunate. But he looked really good in that first half.
I thought he looked great when he came on against Turkey as well,
too. He also came on and
dangerous.
looked good in that 20 minutes or so that he played. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, he came on what, like the 70th minute or something.
Yeah.
And that's a good way of really double checking his fitness for it too. Like that was a good use. That was a smart move by Poach. I think Poach has used his subs well in this match.
I would agree.
It's been well coached.
I would agree.
And that's encouraging for a lot of
Yeah.
reasons. So, but so the two-part question, yes, we can make a run. I mean, 5 bad minutes against Bosnia and it doesn't matter, right? Like you have, you know, somebody, you know, remember when Claudio fell down, you know, in 06 and all of a sudden, you know,
I do.
somebody just trips and next thing you know, they're in on goal and you lose because they get an early goal and bunker down and you can't break through, right? So it's a very unforgiving, unfair game very often. You know, and I mean, you look at so many times where we've been on the receiving end of the bad luck. Maybe we could get some of the good luck on that for a change. So
it feels like this is going to be the tournament where the bounces are going to go our way.
Like
we haven't had that catastrophic call in the group stage where it completely just made the entire group come unglued.
No.
So for me,
this
that's
team
fine.
seems mentally way tougher too. They just look tougher.
It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a direct reflection of the leadership on this team, mainly from the
They believe in the leadership on this team. Yeah, I think that the players, but this is it's not just a resume or a second thing. Is you have a bunch of guys who are the leaders on their teams. It's not like there's just one or two guys. You have several guys who are captains, like, and they understand that they all can play a role with or without the armband on. I don't see a pissing contest over the band, the armband, that sometimes you get those sorts of chippy things. We don't seem to have we don't seem to have the questionable maturity that we had in 22 with Gino. He's clearly learned and moved up and grown as a person, which has benefited that. If he could stay healthier longer, I think that he'll still have a very nice career now. But if he can come off the bench and be as dangerous, it's all of that stuff together. It's good.
And we also don't have the reluctant captain in Clint Dempsey, where Klinsman makes him the captain. He's like, "Are you sure? are you positive? You sure you don't want to?" No. That's awesome. So we're gonna finish this show up because you and I actually had some great experiences recently. You and I both attended World Cup matches in the same city, and you saw a brilliant performance in I believe you were in an official capacity. I was just a paid attendant for the U.S. versus Australia. But let me tell you, I got to be honest with you. I have seen 1,000 games at Lumen Field, whether it's Seahawk games, Seahawk playoff games, or Sounders matches. I've even seen MLS Cup matches at Lumen Field. Great atmospheres, but nothing compared to a World Cup, U.S. men's national team World Cup match in my own backyard, in my stadium. And let me tell you,
I love that for you because I went to it. I didn't go to the U.S. match. I love that for you because that stadium went to a vote in like 97. They got the soccer crowd behind them. Allen was the NFL was trying to keep the Seahawks in Seattle because there was a real ownership finagle over LA and on all sorts of stuff going on. And they wanted Paul Allen in their club, and Allen was like, well, not with the dome. And they put that up to vote, and they designed it ultimately for two things: Monday Night Football and World Cup soccer. Those are the two things that stadium is built for.
Yep.
And it is amazing for both. You sit in it and you look out, and it's the skyline, and the sound comes in, and the field. The dimensions are perfect for everything to fit in. For football, you get an extra sideline so that with all the players and equipment and TV, players aren't crowded and have space. For soccer, you can get all the way to the wall and still have boards and all the space, and nobody's just immediately smashing in anything. It was built right. It's settled in. The crowd is on top. It's steep. The sound comes down. It was built for that, and it was full and beautiful.
So I went to this place on First Avenue. I think it was called Rubens. That's where the American Outlaws met up on the morning of. And so my brother, shout out to my brother Sam, and also our very good mutual friend Dan McCooey, and their crew that started AO Tacoma. AO Tacoma started the March to the Match, and of course I was a part of the March to the Match, and it was a very special moment, and it was great. And there was at least 10,000 people marching to the match. So you have that atmosphere, you have the drummers, you have the guys on horseback, and it was absolutely just a brilliant, atmosphere. You have the Australian fans that were awesome. Shout out to the Australian fans, especially that one Australian chick. You know who you are. And listen, everything was just, it blew my mind. And then you get to the match, and It is decked out in this. Like I remember Copa America 2016 in that same facility, and that was a brilliant atmosphere. This put it to shame. The only thing that I had a problem with was they put Australian supporters in our section.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah.
And
The
they
selling of
put
the
the Outlaws.
supporters end zone thing was weird. Qatar had that section against Bosnia.
Yeah.
There had to have been some sort of formula over which supporters would get that at different things based upon bracketing and whatnot.
And they put
so I don't know.
They put the Outlaws. They put the Outlaws in the away supporter section.
Okay.
And so the drummers were way up high in the corner. And so when they do the right, it was like you could barely hear the drummers. That was my only issue. But again, it was just an unbelievable atmosphere, and it was one that I'll never forget, because the idea of our national team playing in our own backyard, it just blew my mind away. But that being said, you were there for Bosnia, Qatar, and how was that?
That was fun. There were two big Qatari sections, and they were very much decked out in the traditional white, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with the Qatari flag and the burgundy scarves, those two sections looked sharp. And they were spirited and they were into it. Just their team gave up early goals. But the Bosnians were kind of everywhere, and I think the average fan was cheering with the Bosnians because they were so much fun. The Bosnian, I mean, they were just having a good time. Their team was taking it right at them. I thought the crowd was enthusiastic for what was essentially a neutral site match, right? Like,
Right.
It's like, all right, it's Bosnia and Qatar. Who's gonna? No. There was everybody there. If you were there, it was your only World Cup. Whatever it was, everybody in the stadium was excited to be there, and everybody in the stadium was having a football experience that they will absolutely remember. And it wasn't just because the stadium was beautiful and the way it was draped. The only thing they didn't get covered, did you notice, was the Seahawks and Sounder banners were still hanging from the rafters.
Oh,
yes.
Oh yeah.
The actual rafters ones is the only thing they didn't get rid of. So you still had your Super Bowl banner, you still had your CONCACAF banner and all of the Sounder stuff. So it was still representing, which was pretty glorious. But there was just so much about it that was good. The crowds were good. It was well organized. It was easy to get in. Like, it's 70,000 people. I mean, it's 67 plus, a couple thousand comps and all those sorts of things. So the actual 70,000 people in the building, all arriving at the same time. This isn't a situation where it's like Monday Night Football and people are going to go down all day, or a Seahawks game where it's like 2-3 in the afternoon. People take 5-6 hours to kind of work their way to. Everybody's showing up at 9 a.m. when the gates open because they all wanted to get and do all that stuff. And it was pretty well run, because I've been overseas with the World Cup and not dealt with quite the same organization in Naples. And it's like it was my hometown.
Yeah.
It was the World Cup. And it was a wonderful, like, just the fan in me. Just felt very good, and I felt privileged to be there.
I
not just because I had a ticket, and not just because I was doing some, pinging out on for work. It was just a privilege to be there. It was just it felt like you're part of something special. Anybody who was there was like, I went to the Australian. Oh no, I'm going to see Egypt and stuff. So all the people I know who've gotten to that one game or whatever all feel exactly the same as you and I talking right now. It's just been wonderful.
Yeah. It made me feel like a kid again, because I remember going into the Kingdom for the first time, and you're looking at it and you're like, I've been to that stadium 1,000 times and I've seen 1,000 games, but when you walked into it and there's a pitch and it's the World Cup, and you see the flags on the field, and you see the pageantry, and your eyes light up and you're like, for a second, you have to stop yourself and be like, I cannot believe I am here to watch the U.S. men's national team in a World Cup. Like, this is something that I will never, ever forget.
Sometimes I get caught up, with the media work and everything, the business side, and it's serious and all that. but there was a moment where I was just standing up and eating my nachos, and I'm looking around, and the Bosnian fans are singing, "I am from Bosnia, take me to America." That Eurovision thing, and they're just bopping and dancing in sections, and the Qatari fans are waving their, and I was like, it is also a game, and it's supposed to be fun and joyful, and we sometimes need to bring that kid back out in us, and it felt good to have that
I
again.
agree.
Because I've been worried because so
right.
much of this tournament has been soured by so many other things and poor organization and FIFA's corruption, right? But it's like you had to hope that the fans and the footballers would just take it over. And the fans
and
and
they have.
the fans and the footballers have just taken it over. And we've seen it across the country. The Scots in Boston.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, just the whole thing about ranch dressing and biscuits and gravy of the different people. There's just so much stuff. Or the one South Korean fan where they try to get him, and finally all he comes up with is Texas is big. It's like there's been so much. The fans and the footballers ultimately own the game.
Correct.
And they have taken it back over the last couple weeks in a way that is really been nice to see. It's our game. It's our love of and passion. It's our lifetime of going. I've been going to matches at that site for 50 years. My first Kingdom match was 8 years old, the regular season opener, Seattle versus Portland. It was my first game. Travel fans from 20,000 things. My parents got season tickets. Jeff Hurst scores the winner in extra time. 50 years later, I'm walking into the same building site. And it's the World Cup, right? And it's the same site, because it's a different building, but it's on the same place. I walked the same route more or less to it. And once I got off the train, I was walking the same route across the north lot into the stadium the same way I did the first Kingdom game when I was like 8. And the 8-year-old in me was pretty damn happy. It was there. And I want to still experience the joy of watching the game, because if I ever get to the point where I'm hate watching sports, I stop.
I agree.
I can't hate watch sports anymore. I don't care if I don't like a team. I just don't watch them or whatever.
That's exactly right.
I can't turn on a game to root against a team anymore. I just don't have it in me. And this tournament, I've been able to just turn on matches and enjoy the matches.
Exactly. The crazy thing is you brought up the most important thing, because this was a thing going into 2022 with the human rights element of Qatar, and none of that mattered. And then, coming off the back of the George Floyd thing, whatever, and then you get to Qatar, and everybody thought this would be a very controversial World Cup. But as soon as the first whistle hits and the ball gets kicked, it doesn't matter anymore. And I was reminding folks, it's like, regardless of how you live your life and how you view the world, as soon as the first ball kicks off in this World Cup, all of that's going to go away, because at the core of it, it is about the game and it is about the fans. And
during the match, I want to just be thinking about the match.
That's exactly right. And I don't pay attention to any of it, because I just like the game. And that's why I watch the game. I don't watch it for any other reason but the joy of the game. But what I've liked about it is the Scottish fans in Boston, when they drank out Sam Adams' supply for the city of Boston. In Boston. You have the Norwegian fans that are doing the Viking row in airports up escalators. You have the Dutch fans
in Times Square. They did it in Times Square.
You have the Dutch fans that had an Orange Crush out in the city of Dallas. And it was one of the greatest sights ever. You have people in the Midwest that are just rooting for Algeria for the sake of rooting.
Did you see the coming home they got back to their training center? It was beautiful, man. People were lighting up fireworks for them, and people in Lawrence, Kansas, just all wearing green. It was beautiful. Fans are taking the game back.
And then you have the Australians in Seattle that are going Dick's Drive-In. They're going to Costco's and they're just like freaking out about just it was amazing. I actually saw a video where there was like 5,000 Aussie fans that showed up to go see FC Ballard. You know what I mean?
That stadium only seats 15.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like they were just enjoying Seattle, and it's like that is the World Cup. And once you get to that stage, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
Have you had a chance to catch a match at Inter Bay?
No, I have not yet. I had already moved to Michigan before FC Ballard.
But even before then, Seattle Pacific has had it for almost 30 years. The Sounders I saw the Sounders play an Open Cup match there in 2002 against San Jose. That was Landon Donovan's therapy for losing to Germany. Was he had just got on a plane and flew back and came on as a sub like a couple days later in a 1,000-seat stadium against a Division II team in the U.S. Open Cup because he needed to get the bad taste of that other game. I was literally a couple days later. There were rumors he was dating Britney Spears and people were chanting Britney at him at the time. It was crazy stuff. And that stadium is the lower division football there, whether it's been the Hibernian Saints, FC Ballard, the women's team, their Salmon Bay team, Seattle Pacific, Open Cup matches of the Sounders over the years. It's got like the train going by and it's only like 1,000 bleachers, it's like 500 with beer gardens and stuff. And it's kind of like everything's over you because of the hill. Next time you come to town, you've got to at least go look at it. It doesn't seem like much, but it has one of the great environments you'll ever go to. And it's 1,500 people and it's 1,500 people. And Ballard has figured it out. Like, you got to love lower division football anywhere you go, right? I went to a Wimbledon match, 4th division English football. Proper English football match was to go to a 4th division match. And that's where the fans really are, owning it. So, yeah. Hard not to get excited when you bring that up.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm looking forward to is the expansion of the USL in a few years, because I'm curious to see how that works out and what happens with the USL 2 and USL 1 in the champ. That's a completely different conversation. But that being said, that's one of the biggest reasons why lower division football in this country is going to start to matter if it already hasn't mattered.
It does now.
But
it does now.
I would probably agree with you because Detroit City FC is a very popular team here in the state of Michigan. And the USL 2 teams in Flint and Lansing do a very good job as well too. So shout out to all three of those teams. But before we go, quick prediction for Wednesday, Jeff: U.S. versus Bosnia, round of 32.
3 or 4 to 1. And I think the one is just because they do have Aiden Jaco and they have the ability to get one. But I'm not even convinced that if it's 3-0, 4-1, something like that. I think we win by a couple of goals and we score early and we just take it right at them. I think they're going to just run right at them. And
I agree.
Barring some sort of weird 5 minutes where they score a weird goal and then manage to park the bus, I think that Bosnia should be very happy that they made it to the round of 32 and that their fans had this experience. And a couple of those guys are going to get some very good contracts out of this tournament on some bigger clubs than they're playing on before. There's a couple of those guys there's going to be a couple of those guys playing at least Europa League level clubs very soon. There's a couple of those guys are very, very good on their attacking end. Yeah.
I would agree.
So that's my prediction. What about you? What are you thinking?
I think it's going to be 3-1 because we start quick. We start quick, and we like to put teams to the sword before the half. And I think that trait was starting to show last fall. This was something that Pochettino wanted to drill into this team, was that they want to make sure that this game was done and dusted by halftime. That allows them a little bit more second half flexibility. And we saw that against Paraguay. We saw that against Australia. And we actually even saw it a little bit against Turkey too, with that first goal off a set piece from Austin Trusty. Now, of course, we had a rotated B squad in that match, but to your point, I completely I completely agree with you. But that being said, I think this is going to be another Flo Balogun showcase. I think that Flo Balogun is going to be far, far too much for Bosnia to handle, just the way that he attacks the channels. I don't think that Bosnia have an answer for Flo Balogun. If it's not going to be Flo, it's going to be Christian. It's going to be a combination of like 3 or 4 different players.
We have the best 3 or 4 players on the field.
Yeah.
And we don't have a disastrous weakness in that lineup. Our goalkeeping is okay enough. Our central defender maybe lose a little speed, but we don't have a weak link teams can just exploit. But we also, with Christian and Winston and Balogun and Dest, Tyler Adams, we have Eden Dzeko in his day, but he's not that player anymore. He's still good, but he's not that player anymore. We have the best 3, 4, 5 players on the field.
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to move it through the central of the park. They're going to have to play it long. And one of the things that plays into our hands is the fact that we have speedy wing backs that can track back and cover the outside shoulder of both outside center back. So as far as I'm concerned, if it's going to be one of those type of goals late, as we saw against Paraguay, where inexplicably we leak something, but it's not going to be detrimental.
We're going to score early and often.
Yep. This game, I have a feeling this thing is going to be done and dusted by the end of the first 45. So
the only question I have left for you now, since we are wrapping up, and I never thought this was possible a month ago, is does Poach resign? There is the jobs he would actually take next aren't available.
Correct.
Milan is now gone. Spurs has a new coach, right? Those Liverpool, whatever it is, right? Even Real Madrid, United, and those jobs won't come available again soon.
Correct,
because they have new coaches. You usually they get a couple. I mean, we all know the special one will burn out in Real eventually, but
same with the Derby
now. Pochettino signing for that full cycle to set himself up to go have this core group in Spain, Portugal, Morocco, and then coach his home team, and then take over Argentina. I think that's his career path now.
So 2030 is Spain, Morocco, Argentina, Uruguay,
Portugal,
right? Or is that 20? Is that
2030 is like 7 stadiums, 6 stadiums in Spain, 3 stadiums in Portugal, and like 7 stadiums in Morocco, with 1 match in like Argentina. Paraguay, Uruguay. But like the opening matches to celebrate the 100 years of the World Cup will take place near Uruguay, and then those teams will come over. They get like 1 match, and then those teams will come over. So those teams will play like the first day or two, and then they'll have like a full week, for their second match. But then everything takes place. I believe the final is in the Bernabeu or Camp Nou. I don't know which one, but it'll be in one of those rebuilt stadiums. But then there's like 7 stadiums in Morocco, 3 stadiums in Portugal, and like 6 or 7 stadiums that they'll be using in Spain.
All right.
And Spain will have the final. And then 2034 is going to be Riyadh, so that's going to be weird. So we'll probably go back to a winter tournament. So
you're probably right about that. All right. So here's what I know: that Pochettino lives in London.
Yep.
And he loves living in London, but also he loves himself some Tottenham Hotspur. That is a job that he wants to run back. And the only reason why he didn't take the Spurs job this time around was because he was preparing for a home World Cup with the United States.
Timing.
And he wasn't and he wasn't about to leave the United States high and dry to go take that Spurs job. That's not in his DNA. Plus, he's not going to burn bridges. So he's not that type of guy.
No.
Spurs job is not open. The Liverpool and the Man United job is not open, and I don't think he goes back and takes a Fulham or a Southampton. I don't think that's that. On top of the fact, you're absolutely right. AC Milan goes to the Portuguese.
Amarin.
Thank you, Ruben Amorim, and Jose goes to Real Madrid. And so, from that standpoint, where else is he going to go that is on a level that Poch finds, I guess you can say, suitable for his level? I don't think there's a job available. The other thing is I think he actually likes the international job because it allows him time to spend time with his wife. And there's only 5 windows in the calendar year. One of those is a non-FIFA sanctioned window, which is now going to be in December. But I also think that he likes the American. I think he likes the American culture, and I think he likes working with the American Federation. On top of the fact that when you look at the next group of young MLSers that are coming into the senior national team, whether that's the Xavier Gozos, the Diego Lunas, the Audrey Mametis, the Julian Halls, the Kevin Sullivans, you see that next wave of very talented youngsters that are about to make their move to Europe. And within 4 years, all of those kids are going to be a part of the senior national team. So he has the opportunity to mold and blend these young kids with the guys that are going to be left over. And he doesn't have to worry about taking over a national team that was so complacent and so soft under Berhalter, no disrespect, that it's his national team now, right?
Yeah,
it's his national team.
I expected him to have another job lined up. And he has
Yeah.
admitted, my representatives are talking to people, they're doing their job. That is an honest answer. If his agent isn't talking to Milan, they should be fired, right? Because of course that is their job. But I was convinced he would have it lined up. And I
about a month ago.
Some of the reasons you just said, yeah. I think he looked around and US Soccer was like, hey, if this goes well, we'd love to keep you. And
but
he's
also
control. He's gonna have a lot more control.
And I think he's also publicly said that they've already had discussions with the federation that he's open to coming back.
It's come up, yeah.
That he's open to it. And it's like, well, if it's his national team, one of the things that I think fans get a little nervous about is that second cycle, because we haven't had a lot of success with the second cycle. What I will say is that it's all about messaging. And your messaging has to be different, and the expectations have to change. That you can't run on the same messaging this time around.
And he didn't have a true cycle. He didn't have a true cycle.
That's exactly right.
He came in, looked at it, figured some stuff out, did some experimenting, and then it was go time. He didn't really get a cycle. I want to see how he looks. He's also, given his background being Argentine, going and playing the Central American type of environment, I think is something that he's going to come, growing up in CONMEBOL, you go to Panama and all those sorts of places in Mexico. I think that he has absolutely got the right mentality for that. Players do like him. We had Christian, we had a Zoom with Christian. And there were some questions that were tossed his way about coaching, and he was like, "Oh no, it's different than club." But also it was a very respectful, it's different than club. People were like, "Do you go to the coach?" And if they were kind of some of the people were hinting about, kind of the way the Gia Reyna thing had gone. And he was like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen with this." It was just like, you could just, it was a very coded answer, but the coded answer was, "Poach is the boss. We all know it. Everybody respects it, or you're not here." And it was just like, oh.
Well, but also
the sheriff is there. Yeah.
But also think about what's going to happen mid-cycle in 2028. We have Copa America again, and it looks like we're going to be hosting it. And you would probably assume that Pochettino would love to be in charge of this national team come Copa America time in 2 years.
I think he stays now. I didn't think it before.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I just think that if the United States Soccer Federation gets it right, and that means that they come correctly, I think he's making 6. I think he's making 6 now. And if it is a situation where the United States does what you say, and they get to a semifinal, and all the vibes are right, and they come at him with like maybe 8 to 10. And he's looking around at the coaching landscape, and he's like, well, the team that I really want to coach currently has a coach, and that's Tottenham Hotspur, because he wants to run that back. He's made it publicly known that he wants to run that back. And so maybe this is an opportunity where he signs on for another 4 years, and then at the end of the 2030 World Cup. He's looking at it, and maybe it's the opportunity where, again, maybe the timing isn't right, but at this stage, Argentina becomes available, and maybe he just leaves for Argentina. But
he is a young enough man. He is a young enough man to have all of those opportunities over the next 10, 12 years and be able to do all of those. But having a good cycle like this, especially like you said, the Copa and things, I think that if they can pull that off, that is the best move U.S. Soccer will have made in a very long time organization.
Yeah, and it erases everything that's happened in the last 4 years if they're able to retain Pochettino, because the one thing that I will say is this is going to be one of the most pivotal 4-year cycles in this program's history. When you look at the rising stars coming through, that needs to be handled correctly. And as much as I would love to see Brian Schmetzer get that job, I'll just be the first one to say it. I would love nothing more to see Brian Schmetzer get the U.S. job. But if you're asking me if I have to choose between Mauricio Pochettino and Brian Schmetzer, I'm probably going to be taking Pochettino. But
we also have proof of concept on Poach. We've seen him. He's producing a team that's showing up.
Yeah. So. And by the way, it really is a great brand of soccer. It really is, and it fits the national team like a glove. So from that standpoint, I really do hope that he does come back, because this is going to be one of the most important 4-year cycles, and especially if we set a new standard, he is exactly the type of guy who is going to be able to redo that messaging and make sure that this team does not get complacent.
I don't think he's had a chance to really even establish that messaging yet, because he came in on the fly the way he did. It was just, I am preparing the team for a tournament. I'm just preparing the team for a tournament. He didn't have to deal with qualifying. He didn't have to deal with it was, we have 8 games and a tournament, type of thing. I mean, he's coached what, 20 games total?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I think he kind of did. I think it was after the Nations League in 2025 where he was like, "All right, dude, this can't go on." You know what I mean? It was that was in my opinion, that was as bad as it got. I think he looked around and looked at the attitude of the players and was like, "All right, dude, no more. This has to change. And if that means certain players don't come in for a while, then so be it. We have to let them know that their spots aren't guaranteed, that there's not going to be complacency within this national team. And if you want to be a part of it, you're going to have to earn it." And I think that he kind of set that bar incredibly high, which is why we're not seeing Yunus Musa on this national team, and we're not seeing certain players on this national team, because there was a certain bar that these players had to get to in order to make that World Cup squad. So I think in some ways he probably did set the expectation level, but I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'm starting to think so. I think that if he was truly leaving, he'd already have that job lined up, because I don't think he's going to take.
I fully agree with that. All right. Any last words, Jeff? Any last words?
Any last words? I just want to reiterate how much I'm enjoying watching the football. Not just the results and the stuff, but just enjoying the football and the fan, just the whole thing of it. It has been a pleasant surprise to just soak it up and savor it a little bit. I've just been very encouraged by how fans have taken over, we've made these points, but that's my last word, is to reiterate that right there. I just love that.
It's been wonderful.
Yep.
I think for me, I hope that the U.S. men's national team understands history, and understanding that only once in the previous past, of course it's in the past, but we've only been able to establish one knockout victory in the history of our modern era. One. And this is an opportunity for them to rewrite history, and for them to lay a marker down and establish a new tradition in U.S. soccer, and that is to do something that nobody else has done before them, which is make a run to a semifinal. Like everything in front of them is laid out for them. One step
right
at a
now,
time.
Canada has as many knockout wins as we do now.
That's exactly right. And this is an opportunity to absolutely make history. They did it in the group stage by winning the first two, which is something we hadn't seen before. Not even 2002, when we actually got to a quarterfinal, did we actually have that type of success in the group. And so, the first check in the box is there, but now there's an opportunity in front of them to set a new standard for the U.S. men's national team. And I actually hope that this team understands where we've been before and where this national team can go in the future. And I hope this is the crew right here that sets the new standard, that sets the new bar for the national team, for all those that are going to be coming after them, that we look back in 20 years and say, like, this was the team. Because we look at that 2000. Yeah, we look at the 2002 team as being the standard bearer, but like this 2026 team can be that new standard bearer. And that is something that I just hope that this team understands and is fully embracing it and is just enjoying the journey.
Yep.
That's 100%.
I'm totally with you on it. Ultimately, I love the game, so I'd like it to be fun.
I agree. Well, I want to thank you, Jeff, for taking time out of your Sunday evening. It's been absolutely fantastic. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit that notification bell, because we have rounded 500, and now we're in search of 1,000. And of course, all you have to do is just hit that subscribe button and come along for the ride. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank Rich Rod and Adrian and my guy Natesky. You guys are absolutely awesome, man. And big shout out to Natesky. He is literally consistent as they come. RIFC, TID, Rhode Island FC, baby. Gotta love Rhode Island FC. I respect the consistency, Jeff. That's all I'm gonna say. So until I see you guys on Tuesday, and of course we have the pre-match build-up, USA versus Bosnia. So I'll be back on Tuesday night, and of course we have the live stream on Wednesday, 8:00 prime time, which is the first time the U.S. have ever played a World Cup match in American prime time, 8:00 Eastern. That's going to be pretty dope. And as a matter of fact, I would probably assume we're probably going to have about 18 million people watching.
I think it'll be. It has the potential to be the biggest watched U.S. men's game ever.
Ever.
It absolutely. Here's the thing. It better fucking be.
It better fucking be. It better fucking be. All right, guys, take it easy. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. By the way, I hope you guys have a great start to your work week, and enjoy the football, guys. Take care.
Rusted goalposts under fading